Again. NIAB's activities at East Malling began 110 years ago. This was in response to a burgeoning apple and pear industry in Kent in the southeast of England. And at that time, there was a need to increase the yields and the quality of fruit, because even way back then, apple growers were competing with foreign imports that were coming in from the southern hemisphere. So a meeting was held at Maidstone Town Hall in Kent, and it was decided that the growers should try and find a research site locally. Kent County Council found a site at East Malling, and East Malling Research Station began. Originally called the Y College Fruit Research Station, it later became known as the East Malling Research Station. We've been running fruit research projects there since 1913, and in 2016 the research programme was taken over by NIAB, who are based at Cambridge. The site is actually owned by the East Malling Trust. So some of the things that we've done over the years and that we've become well known for are apple rootstocks. Perhaps East Malling has become synonymous with rootstocks across the apple growing world. And just about everywhere in the world that apples are grown today, growers will have heard of the Malling rootstocks. Some of them are prefixed with the letter M, which represents Malling. Some are MM, which stands for Malling Merton. This came about during a collaboration between East Malling and the John Innes Institute, which at that time was based at a village called Merton in Norfolk, hence the Malling Merton prefix. It all began round about the time of the First World War, when we started investigating and gathering information and data about rootstocks and how they contributed to the growth of the scion, which is the part of the tree that we look at above the soil. And we learnt a huge amount. We actually started digging trenches and looking at root growth below ground, so we could understand the relationship between the rootstock and the effect it had on a range of different growth factors above ground. So we learnt that the rootstock could confer vigour of different magnitude to the tree, and so we now have dwarfing rootstocks, moderate rootstocks, or more vigorous rootstocks, depending what the grower is trying to achieve with growth above the ground. But rootstocks don't just confer vigour, they also confer things like susceptibility to pests and diseases, and also adaptation to climate change. So for instance, some rootstocks can provide more resistance to waterlogging, others to drought. So rootstocks have become synonymous with East Malling over the years. We also have done a lot of breeding work over the years. We have breeding programs on raspberries, blackcurrants, strawberries, apples and pears, and of course rootstocks over the years. Another thing that we've become famous for is post-harvest work. So in the early days of apple production, growers would produce their apples and store them for a short period of time and then sell them to the public. But we recognised that we were growing so many apples that we had to find ways of storing them for a longer period of time. And originally a laboratory was built called the Ditton Laboratory, which was built as a ship. It was built in the shape of a ship to mimic a ship's hold, so that we could actually identify ways that we could mimic the travel of apples from the southern hemisphere in a store, in a ship's hold, all the way to the UK. A huge amount of research post-war went into developing controlled atmosphere storage for apples, and that too is now used across the whole of the globe. Today we have three major research departments at East Malling. One is looking at genetics, so we're trying to develop breed new and improved strawberries, raspberries, cherries, apples and rootstocks. We have a department which is trying to grow more fruit with fewer inputs, trying to reduce water usage, reduce nutrition, or the level of nutrient that we're applying to the crop, and use it in a more precise way. And then we also have a department which is trying to develop new novel approaches towards crop protection in the absence of chemical sprays.